Hi, everyone. This is Ashley Lateki Ellenboss with Sky House Herb School and Apothecary. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, just please click the subscribe button, follow me, and if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up or let me know what I can do better. So today we're going to be talking about chamomile. I'll be sharing some stories of my own experience growing this plant and also memories of this plant and ways that you can make memories with this plant. So I'll be talking today about Matricaria chamomilla, which is one variety of chamomile. It's the most common, the most popular, the easiest one to find. And this plant has beautiful white petals with a little yellow center. I'll show you a picture from one of my favorite books. This is a great book that has all things herbs and plant myths. This book is called Flower Power by Anne McIntyre. And this is just a picture of chamomile growing in a field and growing wild. So this plant is in the Asteraceae family, which is a very large plant that has composite flowers, and it's a very favorite among pollinators. And when I had my garden back in Maryland, I feel like I'm always talking about my garden back in Maryland. I will have a new garden, but not until next year in 2022. That'll be my new garden year. So my nostalgia for my old garden is, it comes out in a lot of these videos because I think if any of you have ever moved and had to leave a garden behind, it's like, oh, it's really hard. So my garden patch back in Maryland, I started off with about 4 chamomile plants. I found that this plant was quite hard to grow from seed, at least for me, because I didn't have very good lighting to get it started. So I bought small plants from a local nursery, and I had 3 or 4 of them spread out. And over the course of 5 years, the plant really took over, and it was pretty amazing to watch it really thrive. And a few things that really helped me in growing this plant. One was learning about its use as a lawn plant. And there's actually even a book called The Chamomile Lawn, which was placed in 1939 it's a kind of a coming of age story about a group of cousins who grew up on a chamomile lawn. And so this plant was actually used as a lawn plant because it has this beautiful aromatic smell. And so you can grow it and it will start to spread and take over entire lawns. And so that's what it did in one of my garden beds. Is every year it would grow a little more. And I remembered reading that this plant likes to be trampled like a lawn does. So it likes to be stepped on and get treated a little bit harsh. And so I did that one spring. My daughter and I put on our boots and we just trampled it in the garden bed. And sure enough, you know what? That was my best chamomile year of harvest. I don't know why. I think part of it is just like human spirit. It's when we get trampled or when life throws us a curveball and we have to work harder to build ourselves back, we become more resilient. And I think that's what happened with my chamomile plant was after giving it a little bit of a roughing, then it started to really take off and it had so many flowers. And my daughter and I were able to pick and harvest and dry them. It was a really, really lovely experience. So if you're going to grow it, let it get established first. Let it become kind of like a lawn where the green starts to spread out over a space. But don't be afraid to give it a little mash with your hands or to take small feet and walk over it and watch how that really does seem to intensify its veracity for growing and for flowering. So that's one interesting thing. Another interesting thing about this plant is that it was used, and there is this was captured by Sir Francis Drake, who was a famous physician, that it's used as a plant medicine for plants. So it's kind of interesting. It is considered to be the plant's physician. So if you have plants that are growing outside or even plants inside, you can use chamomile to start to bring their spirit back and revitalize the soil, either by planting chamomile plants next to those plants on maybe a garden plot, or by using chamomile tea in diluted amounts and using those to water your plants. And I've done that with some of my house plants that have been looking kind of rough, and it's really perked them up and brought them back to life. So you can think of it as the plant's physician. Other stories of chamomile, the Latin name matricaria means mother, mater, mother, and caria, care or to carry. And so this plant is one that carries the mother through all phases of her life. And I've used this plant so many times with clients that are really heartbroken over mothering issues that can be pains and ills from their own mothering, that they're, pains from their childhood, from their mother, or just their inability to maybe sustain pregnancy, their desire to want pregnancy, or just the pains and the ills of being a mother. It's hard to be a mother because you carry a lot. You carry more than your own karma in your own heart. They say that once you have a child, their heart is forever within yours, and I find that to be so true. So when the weight of the world is starting to feel, or the weight of motherhood is starting to feel overwhelming, then chamomile can be a really nice, gentle sedative. And even if, you are not a mother, but you carry the responsibility of other people, maybe you're a manager, you don't even have to be female, you could be male and be in a managerial position where you're responsible for other people. And if you just feel like, gosh, I'm starting to feel overburdened by this, I need help, I need some mothering, I need some TLC, a cup of chamomile tea can do just that for you. And so it's really an underestimated remedy for just taking the nervous system down a few notches and giving you that warm support that will help you do your work even better and with even more heart. I also wanted to share one of the ways that I help myself to remember the plants and remember their qualities, because when we learn about herbs, sometimes it can be overwhelming. I don't know if you ever find this where you've sat down, you've read a chapter on, say, chamomile, and you're like, well, how am I going to remember all of that? Well, I wanted to share with you one way that I do this. And this is through what I call plant mapping, but it's really an artistic and fun way of capturing plant information in a very soft, flowing, and engaging way. So this is my picture. I drew this from a botanical illustration of chamomile, trying to capture the essence of this plant botanically, trying to get it to be as accurate as I can within my own artistic limitations. And what you can do is, you can write a header. And then what I've done is I've created colored boxes around the picture that I drew that has different snapshots of information that I find helpful. So I have a box here, etymology, sort of what is the breakdown of the Latin of this word mean. Then I have in yellow, I have my energetic. So chamomile is sweet, it is bitter, it is warming, pungent. It's slightly astringent, but it's also oily, interesting. So it has both this ability to astringe tissues, but also moisten tissues. And then I put my source here. So this is from the Earthwise Herbal by Matthew Wood. And that way, if I want to know later down the road, where did I find these energetics, I can go back to the source material. And then I have the actions of this plant. It's diaphoretic, which means it opens the pores. It's carminative, it helps with digestion. It's a nervine relaxant, which is a lot of what I just spoke about. It's used for taking the nervous system and relaxing it and just giving it some gentle support. It's antispasmodic, which is really helpful for cramps, spasms, digestive discomfort, even for babies and colic, having digestive spasms as their bodies are trying to figure out how to process food of the world, including breast milk. Chamomile can be a really nice, gentle medicine. It's also a cholagogue, so it helps to move bile through the body. And that's really helpful if you have difficulties digesting fat, or you have difficulties with constipation. And then I have just a few quotes here. I have a picture of a baby to remind me that this is a wonderful tonic for babies and for really babies of all ages. Is something that Matthew Wood talks about with this plant, that anyone who is sort of a little bit maybe whiny. I don't know if you know any adults who just, well, it's just so bad, and this happened, and this happened, and it's just whine, whine, whine. Chamomile is a really good herb for helping someone mother themselves so that the whines can start to dissipate and go away. It's also really good for tension. And I wrote here, tension combined with heat, as per Matthew Wood. And there's my little picture of a little sunshine, all tense and not so happy. This was also a remedy that was used traditionally for alcoholics. So it was used to sort of temper the anger of alcoholism, temper the anxiety and the cravings of alcohol. Also because it's a cholagogue and it helps with the liver, it can help the liver flush alcohol. And again, I think a lot of people that turn to alcohol, it's often because there's something lacking. They haven't maybe necessarily found a coping mechanism to stress and difficulty that addresses some of their deepest insecurities. And I think chamomile really does that. So, rather than turning to alcohol at the end of a day, why not turn to chamomile and let it actually replenish you and reach deep into that desire for mothering that might be actually what you're looking for with that glass of wine or that cold beer. I've noted a few other things, a few stories here. In Egypt, chamomile was dedicated to the sun god Ra, as it was an effective fever remedy. So it heats the body up, it moves heat and pathogens, which were sometimes seen as evil spirits, out of the body. It was one of the 9 sacred herbs of the Saxons. It was used as a sedative and a calming medicine for the stomach. And it's also considered to be a symbol of energy and patience during times of adversity. And that's just what I was talking about, isn't it? Like, when you are trampled, it makes you stronger. And in this book, Flower Power, again, I know I recommend books a lot, but there's always a few key ones that I find are really good, especially if you don't want to necessarily practice herbalism as a profession, but you really want to be able to know more about the plants and connect with them personally. This book, Flower Power, is excellent. So I just want to read a few things that Anne McIntyre has written in this book. She says, in the language of flowers, chamomile is a symbol of energy and patience in adversity because of its great ability to restore equilibrium and support the nervous system. Not only does chamomile benefit ailing people, but it has also been traditionally used to cure sick plants and is known as the plant's physician. So here we see that information again. Chamomile tea can be added to a vase of drooping flowers to revive them, and chamomile can be planted in the garden to remedy ailing plants or to prevent disease. In the Middle Ages, chamomile was highly valued as a strewing herb and was also burned as an incense to keep foul smells and infection at bay. It was hung in bunches over babies' cribs to protect them and keep them healthy. Chamomile was traditionally used in love potions and at weddings, and to wash the face and hair to attract the beloved. It was also respected by our ancestors as a grave plant to ease the passage of the dead into the world to come. So there's so much about this plant. And while I tried to capture the things that were most powerful to me, you can see that there's a lot more I could add. So I could either use a bigger piece of paper, write smaller. Another way that you can connect with plants that I have found to be helpful is keeping a little garden journal. So this is one that I bought from Etsy, and I can't remember which site I bought it from, but this plant I really like. It's a garden journal, and it has pages where you can draw the plants. So I would sit out in my garden and I would try my best. Again, I'm not artistically trained or really practiced at all, but I think it's a really good way to really see the plants. And you can write down in your journal the plant name, the location, what kind of soil it likes, sun or shade, propagation, culinary uses, medicinal uses, and then any notes. So I did one for hyssop. Here is one for this is just regular basil, sweet basil, and then rue, which is a beloved plant. And I wrote about the astrology in here as well. And then patchouli. I think this is probably my best drawing. You can see my drawings actually get better and better as I practice, because that's just how life works, isn't it? So that can be another way for you to gather memories and to write down things about plants that inspire you and to help you remember them. Because I think that's one of the things that is I think overwhelming to a lot of people that maybe listen to this channel or who are into herbs is, well, how do I remember everything she said or everything that I read? And you have to find a way to capture it for yourself. So maybe when you're listening, maybe you want to re-listen to this video and write down the things that stood out to you, and then make your own, make your own drawing, make your own, fill up a notebook, right? Keep it all in one place where you might be able to gather this information to help you really deeply integrate this plant wisdom. Because it's amazing how when you take the time to know the plants, they'll come at the right time to help you. So thank you so much for watching. Let me know how you've used chamomile, ways that you help yourself remember plants, any stories you have about chamomile in your life. And I look forward to seeing you all again.